Hey gang, what is popping? How is going on? Hope you all are doing great. Hope you all are having an amazing time. Welcome to Sing This Style. If this is your first time of tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in. If you love good music, you love to discover new artists, new talent, you are at the right place, sweetheart. And you know what? Please do not forget to smash the subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you get notified each time I upload. And please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you in advance. So on today's reaction, I will be reacting to the Beatles, Get Back, and London. Guys, this is on a tour of Timeless Story. You all know how we do it. We go straight and see what the Beatles got for us on this Get Back and London. So straight up, gang, here we go.
Okay. It's a strange question because I'm not sure I can answer it, but do you know what it is you like about the Beatles?
It does still sound different and it still sounds good.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people can really grow and kind of feed off the energy that was given from their tracks as well.
I'll give that to some Liverpool folks.
Their music is timeless.
How do you think London's changed in, say, 50 years?
Unrecognisable, I think. The shops, the culture, the money, really, it's changed, but London's London.
I feel like there was probably, a little bit more freedom, more fun, actually, and spontaneous.
I feel like the culture's grown a lot more, like people coming in, going out and bringing stuff in that they've gotten from going out as well.
Yes.
No matter how much places change, and London has changed a lot, music doesn't just endure, it somehow renews itself. So that things that were created a long, long time ago can still feel so vivid you can almost touch them. And that's what this film's about. Something very historic there happened just over 50 years ago.
The Beatles.
Yeah,
Last live performance, wasn't it?
It's up there.
It's up there. As the Beatles entered their last year together as a group, they spent a really intensive 4-week period being filmed and recorded and working on new music, and all of that is being brought back to life via remixed and unheard music, a new book, which I edited, and a 3-part documentary series with the appropriate title, Get Back. This story starts right at the beginning of 1969, out in London's western suburbs, in Twickenham. So in this very, very unlikely suburban setting, the Beatles have set themselves on somehow rediscovering their essence and getting back to being a band. They've secured space at Twickenham Film Studios, and they're going to work up new songs for their first live performance since 1966. But what that entails, nobody really knows.
I'm so sorry.
All right. Oh yeah, this is great.
Hi Ringo. Happy New Year.
Hi, Ringo. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Hello, Hare Krishna. We're on the day shift now.
Yeah. Well, here's what hits you straight away, right? It is a properly cavernous space.
Cavernous Club.
The Cavernous Club.
No, acoustically, it's not very good here, is it? Apparently.
It's not as good as it could be elsewhere, you know.
Now, what would make it a lower ceiling?
It is an odd environment to get back to your roots in. It really is.
So, the main thing is, like, are we going to do it here or around? Because once we say we're going to do it here, definitely, then you know
build
that.
a control room.
And you can build, see, because they're going to build a control room, George.
Because they're starting a new project with new songs. A lot of what happens is defined by this sense of, well, what have you got?
Or should we do Hypocrites and write that bit?
Do you know the other bits?
My bits, I don't. Sick and tired of rearing lines by seasick, narrow-minded shorts and hypocrites. All I want is the truth. We should change the game.
You want me much? Yeah.
I've had enough of reading lines by so-sick.
Some of the best stills of them at Twickenham Film Studios are taken from this vantage point. It's looking down on the Beatles as a sort of working unit down here. So it's through this doorway, a van with the Apple logo on it arrives, with George's new recording machine.
It's like that.
The sessions here are quite productive, but they're not easy. there are quite a few tensions swirling around. And the key one really is that George has never really been on board with the idea of returning to the live stage. And on the second Friday of their time at Twickenham, he says see you around the clubs, and he temporarily leaves the Beatles. So what that means is, like all great stories, this one reaches a moment of crisis. So the Beatles leave Twickenham Film Studios, and all the filming and recording relocates here to 3 Savile Row, which since the middle of 1968 has been the HQ of Apple, the Beatles company. Right in the midst of what is fair to say is not the most rock and roll neighbourhood. But it's now the London home of Abercrombie and Fitch, who've agreed to let us in.
Oh yeah, Hassan.
They've had the idea of putting a studio in the basement.
Morning, morning everybody. Another bright day. Morning, Cameron.
It's quite odd being down here because I can't really get a clear sense of who and what went where, because 50 years have passed.
And it's a stock room.
And it's a stock room.
Maybe just have 1 chorus on the first time and 2 chorus on the
And it feels quite sort of cocoon-like, doesn't it? I can see that down here would be a sort of escape from the world.
Last night I said these words to my girl.
The myth of this period is that it was like a wholly miserable experience, which isn't true at all. The mood really improves, music's pouring out of them. George is back on board, and the cameras capture hours of amazing footage. And crucially, they're joined by Billy Preston, the keyboard player, who not only contributes amazing parts to the songs, you can tell that he really cheers everyone up. But also the creativity that happens down here. George Martin says, you're looking at each other, you're really getting on, you're really happening, you know. And that's the mood. But there's one question mark hanging over everything that happens, which is how the film is going to end. Turns out the solution is about 4 stories above us. Have you done the Beatles thing before here? Was this the first time?
No, it's the first time.
Do you like the Beatles?
I love the Beatles.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, who
Just
doesn't?
as well. Right to the point that they went out on the roof. No one was still sure whether the Beatles were going to do it. That's just quite a moment, you see. Really? Are you kidding? At one point there was a sort of pregnant silence, and John Lennon said, let's do it. And off they went. It's a privilege being here.
Where's the best way out the way?
Because if you're a Beatles tourist, which I am really, right, there's not many get a chance to come up here. It's one of their great moments, you know. It's as iconic as seeing them in their Sgt. Pepper uniforms. I suppose on paper you'd have thought, well, you know, they hadn't done a live performance since 1966 and all that, but they lock in pretty much from the get-go. Loads of cables went down into the basement where Glyn Johns was recording. 3 songs they played on the roof would end up on the finished Let It Be album. And they play great, that's the other thing. There's a lovely story about someone who was up here and at one point he sort of glimpsed John looking at Paul and Paul looking at John, as if to say, yeah, we're okay, this is going to work, we're all right. But somehow it said something deeper really about how sort of bonded they were. So ordinarily, there's very few people on the roof, right? But the amazing thing about that lunchtime is that everywhere starts filling up with people, you know, because they know what's going on. People opening office windows, peering out, running up and down these fire escapes. It's nice, isn't it, that the surrounding sort of cityscape hasn't changed that much. So you don't have to sort of imagine or project too much to sort of lock in at some of what it must have felt like then, because it looks really similar.
I've got a feeling deep inside. Oh,
I said, you can't beat them. I said, they're all out on their own, they're a star on their own. And they, in my opinion, I think they're a lovely crowd.
Something very historic there happened just over 50 years ago.
Yeah. Is it to do with tailoring?
Is this a spoof?
No, it's not a spoof. This is real.
Fabulous, definitely. Fantastic.
That does sound amazing, yeah.
And then despite the fact this is the era before the mobile phone, word obviously starts to spread. Because you see in the original footage then cabs start to pull up and a really sizable crowd starts to form. Not all of whom are very pleased.
This type of music is all right in this place, and it's quite enjoyable. But I think it's a bit of an imposition to absolutely disrupt all the business.
This is where the people who don't like the fact the Beatles played on the roof, this is where they stand, right? Well, a lot of local business people tried to get them to stop.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That sounds very much like Savile Row.
Still like that, is it a bit?
It has been, yeah.
Couldn't possibly comment.
And the taxi driver in the original film, when they ask him what he thinks of it, he says,
Great, I'm all in favour of it. Yeah, that's it, why not? Yeah, live and let live. As long as everyone enjoys themselves, isn't it? That's what it's about, isn't it?
Well, nobody dislikes the Beatles.
Good answer.
Tell me why you say that.
Everybody at some point has a memory to one of their songs, so I think from that point of view they're part of our collective culture.
Yeah, I'm a huge hip-hop fan. Yeah, one of the many things is that I found that a lot of people do a lot of Beatles samples as well.
This is what my daughter's done.
And your daughter's 24, you said.
So all the youngsters are still into them.
What's your favourite Beatles song?
Something.
The writing of the song was done in the basement, at least partially. Yeah. There's a bit of the film where George turns up and he's got half the words and he's trying to finish it.
What could it be, Paul? Something in the way she moves. Each time, think of what attracted me at all.
Just say whatever comes in your head each time. Attracts me like a cauliflower until you get the word, you know.
Attracts me like a pomegranate.
Pretty amazing amount of music was being worked on by this point. Not just songs that would appear on Let It Be, but material that would come out on Abbey Road.
She came in through the bathroom window.
We're now on our way to where a lot of Beatles stories ultimately end.
Yeah, cheers.
Do you want me to say you there? Come on.
All right, you're on. Thank you very much. Taxi driver's son's in a band. Well, you're going to film me walking across the zebra? I suppose you have to.
It's just pretty crap trying to recreate.
No, it is. But also, I enjoy crossing the zebra crossing. It's not just about the film. I actually like doing this.
I have to film it then.
Please film it. This is all set up for an exhibition. You sort of have to have a moment's silence when you step in here. I would like to believe that some sort of supernatural magic is still swirling around it.
All through the day.
The legendary staircase. You've got to listen to the playback. The vast majority of the recording, the Let It Be album, finishes at the same time as the filming. And then, right at the start of 1970, the last Beatles recording session happens. John Lennon's in Denmark, and George, Paul and Ringo gather in Studio 2 to record from scratch George's song I Me Mine. And George leans into the microphone and says,
You all will have read that Dave D's no longer with us. But Mickey and Titch and I just like to carry on the good work that's always gone down in number 2.
and that, somewhat poignantly, is the end of the Beatles' recording career. But there's one slightly awkward coda. Now something quite drastic's about to happen. Phil Spector, Mr. Wall of Sound, has been brought in to sort of fettle up the Let It Be recordings. 18 violins, 4 violas, 4 cellos, a harp, 3 trumpets, 3 trombones, 1 set of drums, Ringo, 2 guitarists, and 14 vocalists. There's a sort of melancholic symbolism to what happens here. Because the whole point of Let It Be, stroke Get Back, was to return the Beatles to being a 4-piece band with no embellishment. And right at the end of the whole process, at the 11th hour, along come 50 musicians, and that vision sort of dwindles away. But as we've seen, 50 years on, that vision has endured. So you're Beatles tourists?
Yeah.
You're called Jude. Wow. And that's no coincidence?
No coincidence.
Why do you like the Beatles?
I think it's just like, I kind of like the style of music, if you know what I mean. It's like nicer than like modern music. And it's just like, I don't know, it makes you feel a certain way and I really like it.
Wow. So the reason we're making this film the Beatles' final album, Let It Be, sort of taken on a new sort of incarnation. Peter Jackson, who directed the Lord of the Rings, do you know about this?
We've seen the trailer.
So there's 3 new 2-hour films, 6 hours of the Beatles were all gloriously restored. It's a big coffee table book of all their conversations, which I edited.
Oh, fantastic.
And a new box set as well.
Yeah.
So we're making a promotional film, really.
Oh, fantastic.
Are you now going to photograph yourselves
so we
doing
need
the
to
do?
But we need to cross over. Right leg first. Right leg first.
Riding nowhere, spending someone's hard-earned pay. You and me Sunday driving, not arriving on our way.
Do you have a favourite song from Let It Be?
Oh gosh.
Let It Be.
Sharp answer.
That's a good song.
That was all right sound to me. It sounded wonderful, as good.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how I feel right now, guys. I feel so emotional. Oh my God, this is so beautiful. I mean, guys, you know, I will never stop loving the Beatles because their music is like the soundtrack of my, you know, of my life ever since I kind of discovered them, you know. Their music is indeed timeless. Like, you all heard what people were saying. And I heard one woman, like a lady, they asked her, she said, who hate the Beatles? He said, why did you say so? She was like, because like everybody can connect to 1 or 2 of their songs, which is true. I keep telling people that, like, you know, they made songs for everybody. Like, if you are not in a good mood, there is something you can play. If you are not in a bad, like, you know, there is a particular song for a particular person, or like there is song for everybody, like for every time or every, like, I don't know, for every mood or something. I don't know if I'm kind of making sense, but man, she just, like, you know, said my mind, which is true. Like, you can connect to 1 or 2. Oh my gosh. This is just a very beautiful, I mean, one. And, you know, we are blessed to, like, you know, have the Beatles and all that. And the Beatles release this documentary is more like a great one. Like, everybody has been, like, you know, looking forward to, and right now it's here. Some people are watching it, some are getting emotional, people are missing them, people are like, oh, you know, different things. But man, it's really, no matter how, like, everything, like, no matter how you feel, maybe emotional and all that, we are still blessed to have them. And I am so happy, like, you know, I am kind of witnessing the document, though I am completely not watching the documentary, like, in complete right now, but I definitely will later, all right? But so far, the ones that I have seen, man, I am so emotional, like, you know, and the legacy the Beatles left is simply, you know, so huge and so monolithic that, like, you know, it almost defines descriptions, their presence in the world, and should I say is of historic, like, it's in kind of historic proportions, and they are not likely to be forgotten, like completely be forgotten in 200 years, guys, in 200 years from now. I mean, people can imagine 200 years from now, who knows when. It's a whole long time. And this is more like from generation to, like, their music is more like from generation to generation and all that. I mean, I am talking about it after 51 years. I am very sure that someone else, like, maybe when I'm no more, or maybe when I'm kind of getting old, someone else, like, is talking about them. So I am going to say that, like, you know, it's never going to be forgotten in 200 years from now. So, and I love that fact that they left, like, a great legacy. Like, people are, I mean, so many people look up to them, you know? And the fact that people still retain such a strong interest, like, in the Beatles after their music, more than 50 years, guys. it's something like after, I mean, 50 years, right? After the band broke up, it's kind of a great proof of the like indelible mark like they're left in the world. I mean, some of them are no more. Like, how many of them are no more? But man, we talk about them like they are still with us. I mean, it's just a very beautiful thing. I mean, it's just something I don't know. It's hard to like, wrap my head, like, like come up with something tangible. But I hope I am kind of making sense. But really, and it's really great to see that lovely families like there, they, like, the zebra crossing and all that. Like, they met. Can you imagine that little girl? Like, she knows a lot about the Beatles, and she said that. Like their music isn't kind of quite different from the modern, which is true. So they left a lot of legacy. It's just so beautiful, guys. And that is what the Beatles are like, it's all about. And I love the way they cross that zebra, like, I just love the message of love and unity. The Beatles gave the world like a whole lot, so much positive vibes. And that vibes is something that I love about them. They give the people so much positive vibes and, great sound. They were funny, love, laughter, like everything all together. It's not just about the music. They are very funny. They have great sense of humor. That alone is just something very beautiful, man. I absolutely enjoy watching this, and in between I was very emotional. Like I almost cried, but I was like, hey, big girls don't cry, I'm a big girl who don't cry. We just all right, guys. Oh my god, thank you so much, guys, for watching. I really do appreciate you all, and thank you so much for all you do for me. I hope you have a great wait. Today is what? You are gonna see this video after New Year, but I hope you have a great New Year. See you all in my next reaction, and from me to you, here we go. Mwah. Kisses and bye for now.